The knives are coming out for Joe Biden as now even the ultra-leftist Washington Post has begun to float replacement candidates for 2024. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Post's latest hit against Biden. We're going to see how they're planning on taking out Kamala right along with him. And stick with me at the very end of this video when I'll reveal why the legacy media appears to have finally turned its back on old Bumblin Biden. You're not. You don't want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, I'm coming to you from beautiful and sunny Arizona on vacation with my family, but I couldn't resist this story. Before I do begin, I do want to introduce you to an amazing organization called Patriot Switch. You know, we often talk about parallel structures and building parallel businesses and institutions to emancipate ourselves from all the woke corporations like Disney that are out there. Well, Patriot Switch has helped over 2 million patriots all across the country make sure that all their purchases go to support patriotic companies. Isn't that awesome? And the coolest thing here is that you don't even have to change anything outside your ordinary routine or the items you already purchased. Patriot Switch will show you exactly how you can start voting with your dollars to support companies that promote our values of faith, family, and freedom. So make sure to learn more by visiting Patriot Switch in the description below. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. The Washington Post has just come out with a story that's but the latest among far-left Democrat media outlets calling into question Biden's competence and his political viability. Now, they ran a piece just the other day that featured what they called the big top 10 list of potential Democrat presidential candidates for 2024. And the reason they ran the piece is that they cited a poll conducted by YouGov that found that only 21% of Democrats, only 21% wanted Joe Biden to be the Democrat nominee in 2024. I mean, that means that 8 out of 10 Democrats are done with Bumblin Biden. They want nothing more to do with him. And so obviously, the whole uniting the world against Putin theme isn't cutting it. I mean, have you seen that? It's hilarious. The Democrats are running an ad. It's on Twitter that claims that Biden has been one of the most successful presidents in human history precisely because he's united the world against Putin, he's achieved historically low unemployment, and he's fighting harder than anyone else against Putin's price hikes and inflation. I literally don't know who they think they're kidding, but according to this latest piece by the Washington Post, it ain't Democrats. I mean, you failed to convince 8 out of 10 Democrats that you should be on the ticket in 2024. Well, then forget the supermajority of independents. In fact, we've got polling on that. Even CNN's reporting on the fact that Biden is seeing an implosion in his support among independents. And state-by-state polling, not only is Biden in the 30s in virtually all swing states, he's only polling 23% among independents. I mean, 23%. So we got 21% of Democrats who don't want to even see Biden running again. And this YouGov poll is even more devastating when you compare it to another poll that came out just a couple of months back. It's an INI TIPP poll. It's an election poll that asked just over 1,000 registered voters, who would you like to see run for president on the Democrat ticket in 2024? So this is all voters, Republican, Democrat, Independent. And back then, only 22% of respondents said they wanted Biden to run again. But back then, 37% of Democrats wanted to see Biden on the ticket. So in a matter of just a couple of months, Biden's gone from 37% support among Democrats to now just 21%. I mean, there's really no other way of saying it. I mean, he's done. Stick a fork in him. He is unelectable at this point. He's lost Democrats. He's lost the supermajority of his own party. He's completely lost independents. Forget Republicans. Well, I mean, he could take comfort that the never-Trumpers, they'll never leave him, right? Bill Kristol and Rick Wilson of the perverted Lincoln Project, right? They'll stick with old Joe through thick and thin so he can take good comfort in that. He'll get at least 2 votes. That's a promise. But the fact that Biden is unelectable is starting to seep in among the leftist legacy media. And so now you've got the Washington Post running this piece talking about the top 10 Democrat candidates who could replace him. And perhaps what's frankly even more pathetic than the legacy media turning their back on their candidate that they did more than anyone else to get elected. The legacy media was basically Biden's own private marketing firm, right? They were a Democrat super PAC while he was hiding in his basement in 2020. But what's even more pathetic than all of that is that the top 10 list is the same old tired, worn-out Democrat clowns that no one wanted to vote for in the first place. Buttigieg, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar. Interestingly enough, who's not on that list? Guess who's not on that list? Yeah, I bet you guessed it. Hillary, that's who. That's because according to the latest TIPP poll, a clear majority of Democrats, 66%, want Hillary Clinton investigated for a role in the whole Russian collusion hoax and her campaign's ongoing spying of Donald Trump, which is just getting more and more exposed by the Durham probe by the day. So she's politically shot. I mean, think about it. Think about it. She cheated. She fabricated a massive hoax that the legacy media willfully covered 24/7 against Trump, and she still lost. So obviously, Democrats are done with her. And you should also note that Kamala came in third in this Washington Post list. She got beat out by Pete Buttigieg, which again both shows that Kamala is despised by the media, as well as the fact that they're absolutely clueless when it comes to the popularity of Buttigieg. I mean, is he going to take another paternal leave after he's president? I mean, the guy's an absolute joke. Now, I note that the Washington Post is not the first major leftist legacy outlet to throw old Joe under the bus. CNN, of all places, the most distrusted name in fake news, just a couple of months back, they openly talked about potential Democrat replacements for Joe Biden in 2024. And I noted back then in another video that they weren't alone. But at the time, other outlets like the New York Times, they were a bit more discreet about it. So they tried to make the argument that Democrats are solidly behind Biden, but they needed a plan B, and there's no consensus on that yet. So we're solidly behind Biden, but we obviously need a plan B. And again, note what the lack of consensus about a plan B admits, right? What does it admit? It admits that the standard plan B, namely the vice president, is off the table. She's an abject disaster. And The Hill recently admitted as much when they ran a headline that said Kamala Harris is officially no longer plan B. She's political poison, and so the Democrats are up a creek on this. It's becoming increasingly clear that the knives are coming out for old Sleepy Joe. But not just him. They're taking Kamala out as well. Make no mistake, I mean, I've argued this before, but when all these articles come out openly talking about Biden's replacements, those are not descriptive so much as they are prescriptive. Okay, make no mistake, these articles are not mere considerations of Biden dropping out of the 2024 race. They're actual recommendations that he do so. That's what I mean by they're prescriptive. This is a tip of the hat to what's known as agenda setting theory. It's a field of study that explores the influence of the media on setting the political agenda and prioritizing political causes and policies. It's long been recognized that what the mainstream media focuses on or what current events get attention is a major driver of what counts as a viable political agenda, which of course is always radical left. And so this is why we're not exaggerating in the least when we refer to reporters as left-wing activists disguised as journalists. They're political agenda setters, and they know it. So while the legacy media has lost much of that influence when it comes to the general public, thank God, they still exercise enormous influence in the Democratic Party. And I think these articles are out there precisely to get the Democrats to consider going with someone else in 2024, especially with the midterms coming up and the bloodbath it looks like the Democrats are going to end up experiencing. So that's why I don't think these articles from the Washington Post, the New York Times, and CNN are necessarily descriptive as much as they are prescriptive. I think Biden is losing the media, and they're saying that the Democrats need to find someone else. And I would also say that it appears very unlikely that Biden will survive this kind of defection from the media, but we'll have to see on that one. But regardless, I think it's clear the knives are indeed coming out for Biden and Harris. But it all appears too little too late in that there is no viable Democrat alternative. The Democrats are stuck with no good options heading into the midterms and the 2024 election. Now, before we go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on Disney admitting defeat as a massive Patriot protest against their radical agenda surges. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.